I was just asking.
Now extrude that piece that you just had in the middle. Extrude it up. But if you try to print that in real life, you need to insert tolerance.
Ooh,
You can click on the top face. Just click on the top face of that gear, and it'll snap to it. Bang.
Whoa!
Join.
Cool.
Hold yourself. Don't do anything yet.
Yeah.
Don't hide the gear, because if you click join, it's gonna rejoin all that crap together. So get rid of the gear.
Nope.
Other one.
Nope. Okay.
Now hit OK.
Even though it says join right here, do I?
Nope. That's what you want.
Okay. Just hit OK.
Yep.
Okay.
Now put your gear back on. And put your top back on.
Is it just going to slide down to that part? It is.
Well, there's more you have to do to it, but this is like another 20 minutes worth of stuff to make it slide, and you need to have your switch and all the rest of the stuff. But you now have that thing that is able to be rotated around. If you have to add a tolerance, which we can do right now too, which is pretty easy. But you said you wanted it broken so that you can print it. It's now broken enough where you can print it. You should make each one of those things components, because you can't export the STL, or you can't export a body as an STL. You got to export a component. So you now have.
I know nothing.
You have 3 things right now that you can print. One of them.
Well, I have 4 because I have the cap. No.
Here, hide everything but the ring, and then we're going to be done, because it's quickness. Now, go to press pull, which is under the modify menu. It's the first one all the way to the left on the modify menu. No, it's already an icon of that guy. Now, click on the whole inner face of that. That, not the top ring, the whole face. Yep, right there. Now you want to hit minus 0.35 millimeters.
Ooh,
you're in inches.
I'm in inches.
Put mm. Just put mm after it. Bingo. So now put the bottom back on, and there should be a gap.
Oh.
There. So now that piece can slide on there, and then that's the thing you may have to adjust that tolerance depending on how free you want that thing to spin. You can add a little kind of additional little like ring on the bottom of it, so it won't slide down anymore.
Like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now you have, say, okay, you had 4, but you have 4 pieces, and now that ring is able to spin around there.
That's so cool.
You should also add some indexing pins so that stuff lines up the way you want it to, and everything is straight.
You're right. I should.
You should. Which is just like adding, like adding a cylinder up from the top of that thing, and then when you do that, you do the combine tool. Anyway, we could do this for another million years. But I'm doing that right now while you guys are talking beforehand. I'm creating all my little indexing marks and adding tolerances.
Oh, that's cool. Are you doing Red's lightsaber too?
No. I'm doing Josh's lightsaber.
That was
keep your stupid lightsaber.
3 hours. 4 hours, I think, to do this. And yeah. And you just showed me how to do something in like 5 minutes. It's amazing. No. Okay.
Because I know how to do it.
Okay, how do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Is it not letting me quit?
You want to see my lightsaber?
Yeah.
We are streaming right now.
Lightsabers. Oh, we are?
Yep.
Oh, well, never mind.
Have we been streaming the whole time?
Since
for a while.
this lesson started, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
Well, I didn't know that.
That's okay.
I definitely watch a Fusion with Josh live stream. It's good stuff.
Should make it a Patreon-only event. Haha.
Hmm.
But we wouldn't do that to you guys.
All right, well, let's talk about what we're talking about.
Let me edit the title.
Are we in 167? Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm. There. I just added the words possible Star Wars spoilers so someone just doesn't stumble in and like, oh man, my movie's ruined.
Yeah, we didn't ruin that movie. Spoiler alert.
You know how many pictures on Facebook I saw of spoilers on the back of cars with the word Star Wars on it?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay. It's funny the first dozen times you see it.
Just try being an admin of a geek dad group. You see that shit way more. I'm like, no, you're not posting that today.
Okay, between Capricorn or direct drive, which one is better?
I would go Capricorn, but that's just
Yeah.
Ready to
If
start,
you
Sean?
don't have the tube, the filament can ink up, break, or jam.
Yeah, I just got to wake up now.
Sorry if we were boring you.
I guess that.
Yep.
Well, it's a brand new year, brand new episode, 167, Making Geeks podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. So, guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New
yeah,
Happy New Decade too.
Yeah, is it though?
I don't know.
Oh man, we're
That's what
having
everybody
this
says.
discussion.
I've given up on that discussion. I'll let everybody be wrong.
Well, regardless, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hope it was a good one.
Well, not only that, but, Merry Christmas as well, since we haven't recorded for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, man, we haven't talked to each other in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
All
So-
the stuff going on.
I guess we could start chronologically, right? How was your Christmas? Christmas good?
Christmas was very good.
Christmas was super good. That was great.
You had a house full, I noticed.
Yeah,
Your
every year we
stories.
do a big Christmas Eve game, a big dinner, and a big game. And this was the most people that we've had. We had 30 dinner and like the massive game. It was super fun. It was a lot of work. We had a lot of stuff to do with the house. My grandfather had passed away the week kind of before, so I had to like drive 8 hours there to 4 days for a funeral and then drive back. And so like it was just the most jam-packed. And I was getting a little stressed, but it all came together at the end, and it was great. It was super great.
Sorry you missed it. I want to.
Yeah, no, man. Wish you could have been there, but it's all right.
I'm laying the groundwork early. I'm planting that seed early this time. Got a year's notice.
Nice.
Christmas 2020 is where it's at, huh?
I'm like, we spent how many Christmases with your family? Gotta spend it with mine
family.
now. Yeah. Aw. I can play that card at least once. What do you guys get? That was cool. Anything cool? What'd you get?
I got a bunch of hand tools.
Spoils of War. Hand tools?
Yeah, which is great. I've since I've been working such a small little shop area, I've been using hand tools more and more, for better or worse. And so for Christmas, I got a pull saw. I got finger planes and
A
Japanese.
finger plane?
What are finger
Yeah.
planes?
They're like planes. They're like this big. They're tiny. They're
Like
really
small
cool
block
though.
planes?
Yeah. Well, I guess they're block planes. They're called finger planes because I don't know the application of like using a smaller plane than just using a bigger plane. But the one advantage that I do see it is that this one has the blade at the very front of the plane, so it's not inset back. So you can actually like plane into a corner and get it even. Where with a normal plane, you always have that tolerance on either side to where you can't get it flush to any kind of corner, and it's inset from the front, and so you can't do it. But on this one, the blade goes right to the tippy edge of the front, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's tiny. It is it's a tiny little finger plane. And I got a bunch of Japanese tools that I don't know what they're called, but they're cool, and I'm gonna make cool stuff with them now. I'm excited. That, and I got a bunch of like storytelling card games and the light set for my Once Upon a Brick Lego book that I was
Cool.
hoping to get. I got that, so that's exciting. I made off pretty good this Christmas, I think.
I got a laser cutter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw that. Is it a happy gift?
It's there. I have it. I'm not using it. I spent more time on it today and got the mirrors about 95% aligned. I'm having trouble with the alignment of the cutter head, and I think I almost have to like draw out a diagram for myself to kind of figure out what's going on, because when I have the cutter head in the furthest position, it lines up, but when I have the cutter head right next to that second mirror, it's out of alignment. So I have to kind of get my head around what's going on to make it so it's not lined up. But I'm almost there. I'm trying to be patient with it. It's a little bit more trying than I was hoping. I don't know. I think I'll get there eventually. I just have to put a little bit more time in, I guess, and that's kind of the way it goes.
Have you been able to like at least etch anything, or?
I don't want to try etching anything if things aren't lined up. It doesn't make sense to try to do something if things aren't set up to work properly to begin with.
Oh, maybe that's my downfall then. Because I'm just like, run it, even though it doesn't work. Just do it.
No.
I started a fire, so the laser was working enough to start a fire.
Yeah, I burned a lot of tape.
Yeah. At least you're being more cautious about it than I am.
Well, I wasn't that cautious when I broke the tube within the first day of getting it and had to replace that. So that already sent me back a day or two.
But hey, I've never done that, so you're a step ahead of me.
Yeah, well, at least I got the company to replace the tube for free.
How did you
And-
swing that? Say it was like that?
I was fast too. It was in like what, 2-day turnaround?
Yeah, I got a new tube in 2 days and got it replaced and got it fired up, and it fired fine. So my replacement job worked pretty good. I even got it aligned with the first mirror so it fires center. So that's kind of a win.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just little by little. I was not very
You'll get there.
I wasn't happy yesterday, which you guys saw in the chat. And I was still holding back because I was very.
I'm like, hey man, I sent him like a private message, like, hey,
I
do
know.
you need me to fly out there? He's like, if you want to come dig it out of the trash. I'm like, oh. I guess that's a good use of a flight to dumpster dive.
Yeah. I was gonna pull like a David Picciuto.
Oh yeah.
How about you, Wes?
Oh, I made off like a bandit this year. I usually I don't really try to ask for too much because I don't want to make it look like I'm asking for a lot and more than I should get, kind of thing. But this year I was like, I'll just let me just add some higher dollar stuff. No one's gonna buy this for me, and yeah, I got like all of it.
Nice.
Yeah, I got Oculus Rift S, which has been a hit in the family. We had hooked up Christmas Day, and then Catherine's family and everything came over, and we were playing like Beat Saber, like constantly. Played Super Hot, beat that. Got my
Super Hot's a fun game.
It is. I got my cousin to play that, or no, sorry, my niece to play that, and she almost like smashed up the living room. She's like dropping on the floor, trying to like dodge away from bullets and stuff. It's like scaring her to death. And then Catherine may or may not have punched a piece of furniture last night because she got overexcited and she moved way faster than I thought she would have. She went from standing like 3 feet away from like the stand that holds up the TV to dropping her knees and like dashing forward and punching it. Trying to punch some dude like in the leg in the game, and she lost track of where she was and didn't pay attention to the curtain and the boundary and all that stuff. Anyways, but she had fun.
So is this the same Super Hot game that was on the PC where time only moves when you move?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's an amazing execution for VR.
Throwing
It's perfect.
beer bottles and ninja stars and
Yeah, it's quite convincing. Like it got her to, and myself even. It got to the point where like she was trying to stand up, like after she was like kneeling down, she was like on her hands and knees, like trying to dodge stuff, and then she got all the guys in the level, and she like reaches up to try like pull herself up onto like with a counter in the VR world, and there's like not there in real life, so she couldn't like pull herself up correctly. And she started laughing at it. You know, she realized what she did within instantaneously, but it tricks you once you're in there just long enough. And I've been experimenting a lot with the two of the different art programs you can get for it, of which there are a ton, but these are two that Oculus puts out. One's called Oculus Medium, which is like a clay sculpting ZBrush-esque modeling software that you can actually export stuff to be 3D printed, which I hope to do soon. And then another one is called Quill, which is like also a 3D art program, but it's more like illustrative and using like strokes and paint brushes and things instead of like starting with clay. So it's sort of a different approach to it, and you can do animations and stuff in it, and it's pretty fun. And then the other big item that I didn't expect to get, I just added, like no one's gonna get this. They got me a giant stand mixer for doing more cooking and stuff. So
nice,
like baking,
like a KitchenAid.
KitchenAid, yeah. It's like one of the professional grade ones. That I felt like I was cheating last night. I made a batch of oatmeal raisin cookies, and normally you get like a good forearm workout. Like you're adding like 3 cups of oats plus raisins. Like that's a lot of density there. And we were just like adding it, and it was like, come on, what else you got? I'm like, that's it? I get to scoop the stuff now? This is crazy. So it was quite fun. So looking forward to using that some more. I've got some other games and other things, but those are the main items. But
that stand mixer is the main thing that made a difference in all the cookies that I make.
I couldn't even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to do.
What was the
I used
total
to. I
by
used to
the
mix
end?
it all by hand.
Yeah. How many did you make?
What was the total by the end?
Probably almost 400. Oh, actually, I have another batch to make tomorrow too.
Jeez.
Yep.
And my dog got a DNA test. He's a husky, and we got it from a shelter, so we're curious on how much a husky he is. So we're gonna find out within the next couple weeks.
Like 23andMe for dogs?
Yep. It's called Wisdom Panel. We did it for one of our other dogs, and it was pretty enlightening, actually.
Interesting.
Well, that wraps up Christmas. Wait, Josh, you didn't really go though. I mean, you talked about like get together and stuff, but
yeah, we had to get together. I got, what did I get? I got a beer brewing kit. I got you guys. So I'm a pansy, right? I don't like the cold. I complain about it. I live in like the middle of the country that kind of gets cold, but not super cold. But I hate it. And my woman got me a heated jacket. It is the greatest thing, the greatest gift anybody has ever given me. It has a battery pack that plugs into this like interior pocket, and there's a little button on your chest, and it's like the seat warmers in your car, but like on your back and on your chest, and it's amazing. And I just wear it everywhere because I'm cold. And the button is a little ostentatious, like it glows. It's got like a red, a white, or a blue LED depending on like the high, medium, or low setting. And mine is blaring red all the time, and so people like look at me weird. I'm like, oh, you look cold. You should get a heated jacket. And so it's like the vegan CrossFit and now like heated jacket kind of thing. It is amazing. But I need to recharge my jacket right now, so I had to take my battery pack out because I ran it dry.
Jacket charging station.
It is so good. I didn't know that I needed that until I had it.
I would have
amazing.
murdered somebody for that in the military, man. Like the cold flight line.
I did the
Dude.
same thing because I would say a significant portion of being cold like led to me leaving the Army. Standing outside of a helicopter in the freezing rain, and I was like, if I had this thing, I might still be in. I was like, it would melt to me if I was on fire, and it's definitely not flight approved,
Right.
but I wouldn't be cold. Like,
Yep.
you guys could look at my charred, like,
Yeah.
nylon melted body.
He went
and
out
go, well,
comfortably. Yeah.
he wasn't cold.
Yeah, our airstrip was on a seawall when I was not at sea. Like the Norfolk Naval Base, their air station part of it's like right on the water, because it makes sense to be there. And so like the air is just like cuts right through you, like the cold wind and everything. There's no trees, there's no nothing to block it, and it was miserable. Whenever it was like January, February time, you're just like completely icicles. Yeah, I would have murdered for that. That would have been a game changer.
It is awesome. Did you guys see my my Instagram stories about this book that my kids got from my wife?
Yes.
Is that the one that your son picked out?
Yeah. It is awesome. I don't know if I've shared this with everybody on the podcast, but I took my kids to Barnes & Noble. I'm like, let's get some stuff for your mom because your mom likes books. They all know her. And my son was like, man, we got to get her something she's really going to love. I'm like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, so what do you think she likes? She was like, well, I mean, you guys like each other. He's like, so she likes romance. So let's get her a romance novel. I'm like, oh, okay.
Your
I'm
logic works, yep.
Whatever, man. I'm like, go ask the dude where the romance novels are. So he goes to a little kiosk and asks him, and the guy gives him this kind of odd look. And I'm like, So he all through my kids, walked them over. He's like, here they are. He's like, thank you, sir. And they're like looking up and down the aisle. And all the books look the same. It's got some flowy lady or Fabio. And so he's like, grabs one. He's like, I think this one's good. And then my middle son is like, I don't like that one. And in the middle of the store, he yells, the romance novels aren't about you. They're about mom. So I wrap that bad boy up, and she opens it on Christmas Day. And he's like standing in front of her, like all big with his eyes, like, yeah.
I saw her reaction, which is awesome.
Yeah. He's like, it's a romance novel. And he pronounces it all weird. And I open that bad boy up, and it's straight up porno books. I don't see how you can wrap this any other way.
So Donovan just stepped out for a moment, and he came back to straight up porno books, and his face is pretty confused looking.
There's no way to go, oh, it's romance. Sure, it is smut. Straight up smut. But it's entertaining smut. I will give it that. It was about the Duke, and it's about some Duke in times of old, and he's meeting all the people in the land, and he meets this lady, and I'm like, whoa, boy. And so, yeah, we got smut in our house now because my son gave it to my wife for Christmas. So.
Oh. Okay. It's like, what are you talking
Heated jacket,
about?
innocent intended porno books. So that was pretty much our Christmas.
I mean, it's
one to
different ways to become
remember.
hot. Yeah.
Right.
Be a good story for when they're older.
Oh, she's going to re-gift it to him on his wedding day.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Well, that handles Christmas. How was your New Year's? Since that was the more recent one just 2 days ago.
So far, so good.
Yeah, only 2 days into 2020, so.
That's right. Pretty uneventful.
Mine's
so far.
been Mine's been very eventful.
Yeah.
Not for the good. Yeah, stuff at work exploded, and I need to find a job very fast. So it's been crazy.
You don't say.
Yes.
This is
You've only been
complete
warning
news.
us about this for what, 2 months?
No, I know, but now we're entering the realm of like felonies. So the police are now involved, the Oklahoma Tax Commission and the IRS are now involved, and I'm like, I'm done. Like,
I kind of remember
I'm
us
so-
warning you.
Yeah,
So
No,
we've
I
had this
know.
2 months
discussion.
ago.
yeah, yep. Now it all came to a head, and I'm looking for a
So,
job again.
So is it as much of a crime as Rise of Skywalker?
That was a great segue.
Kind of waiting to kind of kick this off.
Fantastic. Yes, let's talk Rise of the Skywalker. Shall we?
So, all of you in the audience, we are going to talk spoilers for this movie and for our YouTube channel, so beware.
So, preliminary opinions. I take it you didn't like it, Sean.
I don't even know if I have the appropriate words to describe it. Because I think, pile of crap is a little bit, too forward. Supremely disappointed, to be honest. I don't think it's a terrible film, but I think it's extremely disappointing in wrapping up 9 films.
40 years of movies.
Yep.
Culminated in horses in space.
It actually makes Last Jedi look a little bit better.
I don't see. I mean, I
In
get
some
everybody's
ways.
point about Last Jedi.
I'm not in that camp of hating it that much.
Yeah, I don't hate it that much either. I watched this movie the first time, and I was pretty annoyed. It was the fastest movie. Like it was so cram packed with stuff that I'm like, I have so many questions, so many things are unanswered. I think it is so incomplete. And then I watched it the second time, and it kind of answered some questions. But I was like, meh. I could not see this movie again and be okay. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was meh.
There was a lot of Star Wars in the Star Wars. A lot. I thought it was entertaining. I really did. We went and saw it Monday. So after opening weekend, there was nobody in the theater. So just like Endgame, had the theater to myself. It was fantastic. It was entertaining, but the whole time I was like, I knew it. Called it. Oh, really? Really? And if I could summarize The Rise of Skywalker in a phrase, it would be, oh, and by the way, because I felt that whole movie was just one more, oh, and by the way, they hate each other now. Or no, not they hate each other now. Oh, and by the way, they're all are fighting with each other because they have to make up later. Oh, and by the way, they were in love the whole time. Oh, and by the way, he's alive. Oh, and by the way, Snoke was just a thing. Oh, and by the way, like the whole movie felt like that. Like a, oh, and by the way. It was, yeah, annoying. But I called it last shot, first shot. It ended where it began. I hate being able to predict things because I
When I
often get
poked in
punched by my
here
wife.
when you guys were recording that day, you said that, and I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. I want to say something, but I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, you were right. I was wrong. I don't know about you guys. If you do like all of us usually do, and come in with your kind of preconceived notions as to what you think would maybe happen, but I was wrong on so many fronts, and it didn't make me dislike the movie because I was wrong. It just went, oh, okay, well, that's what you're gonna do. Like, whatever.
No, I can kind of get that. I mean, there were the one thing I like being surprised in a movie. I don't like it when a movie is so predictable that nothing seems surprising. So when they're like, oh, and by the way, like Snoke was a thing, and oh, and by the way, the Emperor is alive the whole time, which
Snoke
they
soup.
kind of ruined. Snoke soup, yeah. Oh, by the way, oh, she's a Palpatine. Like, it wasn't surprising. Like, nothing felt surprising in this movie, and which was kind of disappointing. But I felt like they like went out of their way to try and be surprising, like especially with the whole
No.
Palpatine thing.
They went out of the way
Because-
to be surprising in the last movie.
I mean, in the last movie, like people wanted Ray's parents to be something. Like there was so much expectation for that. And Ryan Johnson's thing was like just not adhering to people's expectations.
Right.
And
It's not going
so
to turn out the way you think. I mean,
Yeah.
Luke said that. So that's like the whole mantra for episode 8.
and it was honestly kind of okay that Luke's parents, it didn't have to be associated with like the incestuous Star Wars family where everything is just in this little clique. Like she was special on her own without having to be associated with anybody from the original. But now, nope, that's taken away because she's a Palpatine now. Surprise! Like, I just.
But see, if that was the case, they never should have made a big mystery about her parents to begin with. They set themselves up for that.
Well, I wonder if J.J. Abrams, because like in writing episode 7, I wonder if he had that in mind the whole time, or that was just kind of the direction of Ryan Johnson took it in.
I think it was the plan from the beginning because the whole point was balance, right? Balance of the Force. You have Kylo Ren and you have Rey, and each one is like a balance of the different side. And they come together and they're stupid Romeo and the Juliet ending.
Because they're the Force dyad.
Let's throw that in there because people have heard that already before.
The Force dyad. So that thing bothered me on a couple levels. And then I went and I started diving into this whole idea of a Force dyad. They can do their cool, like, Force touch, Force
Which I like that.
fight.
Oh yeah,
kind of
That was
thing.
cool.
I have a
because they-
lightsaber now.
Yeah, they gave a name
Oh,
to
and by the
thing.
way, that was another one. Oh, and
No,
by the way,
it
the
was
Force
not-
can do this now.
No, it was not a by the way. They did that in the last movie. Thank you very much.
They hinted at that at the last
You
movie.
can't
but
say
they
it's
didn't.
oh by the way because they already showed that you can do it because Kylo got wet in that
And then he
scene.
yanked her necklace off.
That too.
No, he yanked her necklace off in this movie, not the last movie.
But I mean, the idea of a Force dyad was they are the two most powerful families. And I'm like, why? Like, who says that you're a power? Like, Anakin is the one, right? He was born from Shmi, and then he had a son, and then there's Ben. So if you're the most powerful family, like he's half of a Skywalker. So how does he have some ultimate power? And she is the granddaughter of Palpatine. How do they have to pair those two families together to have
But
this
in the
magical
way they
thing?
were both created by Palpatine, so it's sort of been his plan the whole time.
There were so many weird, like, Star Warsy things that, like, I get it. Every time you're going to watch Star Wars movie, they're going to introduce some new weird, like, it's space magic. But then they had so much time to fit in so much stuff. And I always wondered after the fact, like, was that so important to keep? Like, did Finn really need to yell Rey, like, more times? Like, have we not heard him just scream her name enough times in these freaking movies?
Finn could have been left out of the entire 3 movies and it would have been just fine.
I think
he
if
didn't
he
really
came
have any
around at
story
the,
responsibility.
I really liked where they were trying to get more stormtroopers, like more like separatist or people that ran away.
Yeah, they didn't really dive into that at all.
Oh,
They didn't. Like, I liked that plot point, but I think it was too little, too late.
Yeah.
okay. We
Was there
don't have
anything
to
that
do-
you liked? Hold on, before we just poo-poo all over this movie, was there anything that you enjoyed?
I mean, I haven't
I thought
gone
it
yet.
was very entertaining. The lightsaber battles I thought were really cool.
Sorry, Wes, what do you have to say? I'm sorry, buddy.
It's okay. I went with my kids, and I tried to put away the cynical 40-year-old Star Wars geek hat. I put the hat away and tried to share the same hat they were wearing, where this was brand new to them practically. You know, like they've seen the other old ones, but these are their Star Wars.
Yep.
Where the other ones were mine. All right. And they friggin' loved it. And their joy for it was pretty infectious, to the point where, as I was watching it, I was like watching two movies. And like I would see something that like, oh, that's going to be annoying if I over criticize that. I'm going to sidestep that and keep enjoying it. And so I allowed there to be a bajillion cuts from a bajillion different weird places with all the different Star Wars swipes. Like I was not immune to all these annoyances, but I tried my best not to let them bother me, and I came out enjoying the movie more than I thought I would. I definitely see where people can get, and I've only seen it once, and I do want to see it again. But I definitely can see both sides. But I think no Star Wars, any new Star Wars is going to have a tough time living up to our nostalgia of how good we think the old ones were, when in reality only 2 out of the 3 original ones are really that good. Come on. I mean, like 2/3 of the 3, in my opinion, are even that great. But I don't know. It was hard to see with the line where JJ was course correcting from the previous one, or if it was like his original intent. It was kind of hard to see like where that line was. Overall, I enjoyed it. I would probably give it a B, just because I put that hat of being critical away. Now I can watch it again, being super nitpicky and wanting to be a curmudgeon, and I could definitely see me being justified in that belief. But I figured it was the last one, and they couldn't be as bad as the prequels, and they weren't. So I mean, is it that bad if it's not as bad as the prequel? I don't know.
Well, I'll be the curmudgeon then, because I think Marvel ruined Star Wars in a lot of ways.
Marvel,
And,
Disney.
yeah. Not Disney specifically, but I mean through Marvel, I think they ruined Star Wars. But I think it's mainly because of the villain. Thanos was such a cool and complex villain. And I know some people may not even agree with that statement, but that's the way I'm seeing it, because the motivation was not just one of desiring power. Here we are 40 years later, the same main villain, the same plot point. Nothing's progressed. It's like being caught in like the 1970s, 1980s. We just have this one character that just wants to rule everything, and there's no other subtleties that makes that character more interesting.
And the shot for shot moments with where he opens up the sky view, and it's like, those are your friends. Like they're all going to die. It's like
it was frustrating, and things that were really easy to fix. I mean, I'm not even complaining about the space horses or a lot of the really hokey moments, because I know that those are all throughout the movies. I can accept that, but the grander story, things that almost don't even cost more money, is I think where they failed the worst. And it's really frustrating that it seems like it should have been, I don't know why that stuff wasn't corrected before, or maybe I'm not seeing things the way I'm supposed to. I don't know. Something seems wrong or off, and I want to give J.J. Abrams a little more credit. I think he's a great storyteller, but I don't know what happened in this last movie. I don't know if it was pressure from the studio, if he didn't have as much creative control as he probably should have. Even the point at, and I'll say the last 2 things, and I'll stop talking for a while. I try to abstain from all spoilers over the last 6 months. I did a pretty good job of it. I didn't watch any of the extra trailers. I didn't want to ruin anything. But I would hear little bits and pieces of what people thought would happen, or just like fun ideas, or even like Josh, I heard on the other podcast, your thing about R2. I thought, oh, that would be really cool. The night before I saw Rise of Skywalker, my wife and I watched Last Jedi, and she goes, "Oh wait, I think I know what's going to happen." She had this idea because it seemed like all the breadcrumbs were in the Last Jedi that Luke's passing would almost be the start of a new religion, where Luke would almost be like a Christ figure, which I know is kind of like an old trope, but it seemed like all the breadcrumbs were there, and nothing was followed. It seems so weird that all these choices were made, and yeah, I don't. I think the movie's a complete loss.
Okay. Granted, Star Wars has always been made for 12-year-olds, so we're not exactly the target demographic. But
I don't care about that statement.
I know. In comparing my experience growing up with the originals and the prequels and everything like that, and all the extended universe that I've been exposed to through having kids and my wife and whatnot, there is something I noticed in this one that I think being older has made me really more sensitive to, in the fact that it really, really kind of bothers me that we're okay with the fact that the rebels slaughtered millions of people. Just killed millions of people. And we're okay with that. We cheer it. We celebrate it.
You're talking about the Death Star, right?
Yay.
Talk about both Death Stars
Okay.
and now a fleet of people.
No, okay. So the Death Star, the Death Star, the Death Planet, and now the entire fleet of people. And the reason that it bothers me so much is Finn, because Finn, in his creation, in his existence in the Star Wars universe, gave birth to the idea that not all stormtroopers are drones, that there are stormtroopers with conscience, that there are stormtroopers that are not okay with the status quo and that don't want to be part of the Empire. And they really hammered that point in this movie when they found the other squadron, an entire squadron of ex-stormtroopers who were not okay with the status quo, who left to the Empire. Okay, so those people exist. All right. So now take that on a huge, massive scale with all of these Star Destroyers, and each Star Destroyer has hundreds of thousands of people in order to man and operate each one of these. And a certain percentage of those, because they've established this in this universe, are people that are not okay with this. They are not on board with the Empire. They are rebels in their own right. And they were slaughtered, and we're okay with it. And that bugs the heck out of me.
Do you think they should have launched a rescue mission on 1,000 Death Stars? Like, that's
more than anything else.
Destroyer?
Well, I don't. That's the thing. There's no good counterpoint to what is bugging me about this, but
There is.
I think bugs me because if you look at, because I've lived outside the United States, and so I look at this in like a global scale, and the fact that if you were to take the Star Wars universe in its basic form of what we know and put it on a global scale to our planet, the United States, we're the Empire. We're the militaristic, thing that goes out into the world, asserting our military and force to get other cultures and people to inbreed themselves into our way of life with the guise of, oh, this will bring peace, this will bring harmony and order and all this other kind of stuff. And they kind of point to that on The Mandalorian is Werner Herzog's character, his whole thing where he's like, with the Empire, you had order, you had peace, you had commerce, you had stability. And what has the rebellion brought you? Is there peace? Is there all this other kind of stuff? And so I look at that from a global scale, and I'm like, okay, we're cheering on the rebels for slaughtering millions of innocent people. Granted, they were led by not good people, but still millions of innocent people. And we're okay with that, even though in the grand scheme of things, we're the Empire. We're the bad guys. So I know.
Counterpoint and say Germany is the Empire in this
Yep.
analogy, but sure, I'll let you have that.
Okay, Nazis are always the go-to bad guy.
I mean, their
Yeah, but it was
uniforms
created
and
with
their
that
accents
intent.
were
It was
German.
created in the 70s with that intent.
No, I
And
know.
you have to no, but you have to remember back with that original trilogy with 4, 5, and 6, that sentiments were very different during that time, where we had a little bit less, at least publicly, of that gray area of what you're pitching right now. It was simply good guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the problem with like the whole Nazi thing is the fact that it was, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it was so long ago that there has been such a disconnection between that the fear and like the immediacy of how bad the Nazis were are kind of lost to today's generation. They
know
don't
it's
have
not.
well,
Are you kidding
it's just
me?
because they only have like anecdotal things. They don't have like personal experience with this group of bad guys. They just have anecdotal. Well, Grandpa used to say, "Oh, I've seen it on this movie," but they don't have that personal, visceral experience with pure bad guys like they did back then. We don't have that now. I mean, we have like small examples of it, but they're kind of not. I don't know. I don't see them as like the ultimate bad guy anymore because the world is different now than it was back then.
Yeah, well, that's what I said earlier. The story hasn't progressed to keep up with current times. You got the same bad guy they had 40 years ago.
Well, a trope of Star Wars has always been like the trilogy is like duplicated multiple times.
Yeah,
Like
rhymes.
the second group of trilogy, they followed the same story beats. So of course, if this is the end of that storybook, then they're gonna have to follow that same thing. Like they had a Death Star equivalent at the beginning. Like they had an old, hermit, wise guy, teacher that it's all the same thing. Like you could say Luke is the equivalent to Yoda. He was like an exile because he wanted to be alone, and then someone who wants to learn the Force, who he's reluctant to teach him, and it's like exactly the same. So like it's not like a revelation that this one is following that pattern.
Kylo Ren's story arc was the same as
Right.
Vader's
Darth
in the
Vader,
third
yep.
movie.
I mean, hopefully now this is the end of that saga. So then you can go with a new formula. Like they've hinted at, with the Mandalorian, that's a complete new direction. It's like it's fresh and refreshing. And it's great. There's only a few little breadcrumbs of connection to the main story, right? And that's awesome. People seem to really enjoy that. So I think now there's a chance for something new, which is exciting. We could also tie in the Are you guys up to date on Mandalorian? Can we talk about that?
Yep.
Yeah. That was another, oh, by the way. Let's get out this episode of The Mandalorian before Star Wars comes out so that we could say, oh, by the way, this force power of healing has been there the whole time.
I don't see why it wasn't there the whole time, honestly. That
It's
I
been
think
in
out
the
of
books
anything,
and games before, though. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, I
like-
know, but
that was believable if. Yeah,
what
I mean, the
else
light
in the
side should be
in
able-
that episode of The Mandalorian would have warranted them pushing the release date to Wednesday before the movie?
I mean,
than
do you
just
wish they didn't do that?
Well, you have to think like from their point of view, why was it so important? And because Baby
sure it was a
Yoda
spoiler.
killed. So guess what? Oh, by the way, this is a thing now. So people weren't like upset when it happened in.
I mean, anytime
episode
they
9.
introduce any new force power, you can say, "Oh, by the way," like that's not you can't just
Oh
keep
no,
saying that.
episode 8 was the same way. Oh, by the way, we can force project now. Oh, by the way, like ghosts can now interact with.
Anytime you introduce any new story element, you can say that. Like that's not a valid excuse or valid argument. Oh, by the way, like you can apply that to anything.
But it just seemed like so much in this movie, where all of it was like that. Where we need to set this up in the beginning because we want this resolution in the end. And the only reason why it's this way in the beginning is because we need to have an arc to this in the end. No other explanation. Just
I mean, you can't be upset that they were a clone copy of a previous kind of story pattern, and then be upset that they introduce new things. Like you can't be upset for both of those.
I'm not upset for both of those. I'm making an observation.
Cool.
as a fan. I'm still a fan of Star Wars.
Like
I mean,
like the whole raise parents are nobodies. Like technically that was true, right? Because they even said that his son wanted to be a nobody because of who his dad was, right? So in a way, it's true. No comment. Okay.
No, I got
I don't know.
I mean, is that a course correction from Ryan Johnson, or was that originally the intent? I don't know. Who's gonna say?
I like the little elements that J.J. Abrams put in there to kind of thumb his nose at Ryan Johnson.
Yep. Like respecting a
Yeah.
instrument.
You don't
like the
disrespect a lightsaber.
Right.
Oh my God. You don't? You sure?
my friend and I had a conversation about this because I do kind of take issue with people poo-pooing over Ryan Johnson. Because you have to realize in the whole production aspect of episode 8, it started with the Star Wars historians. Because everything goes back to these people that work at Disney who are the keepers of Star Wars lore that determine what is and what is not part of the Star Wars universe. Everything comes back to them. So that is where everything started. So all the ideas during the pre-production and the writing, because it wasn't just Ryan Johnson, it was entire team. And all of these ideas that they put together that said, hey, let's make a movie out of this, had to go back to this team that would sign off on it and say, yes, this is now officially part of Star Wars lore. This fits in our world. We are okay with this. And then there was an entire production team, and then there was an entire post-production team. There was like a huge team of people that were part of this process that made this movie that people didn't like, and everybody just throws it back on Ryan Johnson. Even Disney, even like this movie, J.J. Abrams, like you were talking about, snubbing his nose at Ryan Johnson. It is not Ryan Johnson. Like, he's just the scapegoat to this.
Yeah, but he's not free of all responsibility. He's
No,
not free
I
of all
understand that.
responsibility.
I understand.
No,
that.
you're trying. No, you. What you just said is completely trying to take any responsibility off his shoulders. He still has.
He had the go ahead. He had his blessing from this group that said, "Yes, this is lore. This is what we have determined to be part of the Star Wars universe."
Lore versus good story are two different things. And
well,
I think. Look, I think The Last Jedi was almost a great film. I think it was almost a great film. And we talked about it a couple times where I had said that, or I had talked about it, saying that I was going to reserve real judgment of Last Jedi until Rise of Skywalker came out, hoping it would tie up some stuff, and it did, but the resolution of those things really seemed kind of weak, like Snoke. I think Snoke should have been, a bigger villain. He was definitely poised to be, and then painted to be nothing but a puppet by Palpatine I think is really kind of weak. I think that Snoke probably should have a stronger origin. Whether or not they ever follow up on that, which I don't know.
Well, was he created? Was the Emperor
Cloning,
making clones and then just like slurping the Force juice out of him? Like, it was so ambiguous in this like Snoke tank. And why did he look the same every time? Like, he would get a copy of a guy with a messed up face, or did the messed up face part of the cloning process? And if it was part of the cloning process, why were they all identical?
I think there's more to it.
It was so confusing.
I think Snoke was an actual ancient that was cloned. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to say anything anymore because I can't make a guess at any of this stuff.
Yeah, it taught me that none of my predictions or none of my things matter, because I think Wes is right. Both my kids loved it. I'm like, I'm glad you guys really like this movie. It's not what I wanted to happen, but again, I'm not the director. I'm not financially responsible for the success of this movie. So
I don't think saying the Star Wars for kids, which I'm not going to debate at all, but I don't think that's an excuse for not being able to write a better story that better follows some of the basic conventions of storytelling.
Agreed. But I think there's a huge number of people that are sending like death threats on Twitter to J.J. Abrams and making this about the most ridiculous thing. Like, it's a movie. It's a story.
What about the good parts?
Yeah, honestly,
Wait,
like
what about the part where Han said, "I know"? Like that was awesome. No, no one got
Mm.
That was
chills.
one of
No
my
one
Yeah.
teared
that
up a
was
little
one of
bit.
my favorite
Like that was
that was
awesome.
one of my favorite parts of the film.
Chewie got a medal finally.
he
Like that
finally
was
got it.
awesome.
I was the only
I
person in
was
the
like,
theater.
yes.
I went, Chewie got his medal, and
Like that
everybody
made
looked
me.
at
I got almost got emotional at that point. Like that was awesome.
Okay, this is going to lead to another complaint of mine, but when when I thought Chewie got killed,
Uh-huh.
did you guys think that that was it for him, or
I thought,
did you guys know
I
that
was like, there's
he?
no way that they're gonna have Ray responsible for that. There's no way.
I would have actually had more respect for that kind of hard decision. Although I was pissed at the same time, like, oh my god, they're gonna have Chewie go out like that.
I went,
Nobody,
okay.
nobody died.
I thought a lot more people were gonna die,
Yeah.
and I
They
went,
should have.
boom. If there's some motivation to get some stuff done, you killed Chewie. I'm like, ooh, that's gonna light some fires. And I
That's
went, oh, psych.
And
He was in a different
didn't
thing.
have the hero moment he should have had.
Yeah, I was a little bit upset with the C-3PO thing. Like, I don't think he,
I was really upset.
like, I thought he was gonna do more of a sacrifice. There was no stakes there.
Nope. I was not. This movie lacked emotional buy-in. I tried to connect emotionally so many times during this movie, and I was let down. And so I went, okay, well, I'll just watch it then. And I think that you talked about Marvel messing up Star Wars and how emotionally tied people are to the soundtrack, the story, the family, the lineage, the history you have with your own family watching these movies. I put myself out there to this movie, and it just didn't really have any places for my heart to go. I know, wow, well, if this were a date, like I just kind of want to have dessert and go home.
And that's kind of what I meant before with like Marvel. They made some hard sacrifices. Granted, they could have, some people think there should have even been more, but they made some hard sacrifices, and I don't think that this movie lived up to that. And they could have, and I think it would have made a huge difference in people's perception of the film.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's hard to think that J.J. Abrams wouldn't have known that or thought of that. So it makes it feel like things that he wanted to do, either he wasn't allowed to for whatever reason. I don't know. I would like to give him more of the benefit of the doubt, but we'll probably never know.
Did you guys like or dislike?
Well, hold on. You
Yeah.
said that you won. Apparently, there is like a 3-hour cut, and it's trending to like release JJ's movie.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, that's why the movie ran. Like the pacing was so fast, is
I
that
saw
they
hints
would
of that
not
today.
they would not let it be a 3-hour movie. So it was compressed down to the 2 hours and 30 or 40 minutes or whatever that it was, and everybody was just like bombarded with movie. Apparently, there is a slower pace. Like there's more to it.
Like a Snyder
And,
cut?
I actually
yeah,
don't think that would
I
have
don't know
mattered.
how true that is.
I don't think that would have mattered because it would mean different story choices. It would mean
Yes.
a different movie.
Exactly, because apparently, at the end where Ray is on Tatooine, like there's reused footage, and the edit, some people are saying, allegedly, is a little off, because there's more to just the movie in general, and like that whole scene where Leia kind of like lays down and takes her Jedi death nap and whatever, like that whole thing felt disjoined.
Yes.
Like there was more to that, and you just didn't get it.
Yeah, you had to like fill in your own pieces. I agree with that. Like I guess she was connected to him. And that's what made him convert. And like you had to like fill in your own hypothesis of like how to explain it, right? Which I agree they should have had not necessarily exposition, but made a little clearer.
Yep.
Wes, were you going to say something else?
I was gonna
Somebody-
say like, did you guys like how he handled Leia? Like with what he had to do, with what the stuff he had available. Do you think he did a good job? Do you think he should have just like had her die off screen before they did any of that? Like, no one could have planned her dying, and how would it have affected it? In another way. Like I don't know. Like with her being a Jedi before,
Oh, and
like,
by the
taking
way-
training and.
No. I actually expected that. I think that's almost like a little bit of common sense. Thinking that she wouldn't have been trained at least a little bit in some of the Jedi ways. I think that's completely legitimate. I don't think I really had any complaints about her, other than the thing that Josh just brought up right now with the death scene. I think everything else I thought was all right. But I also didn't expect a whole lot because I knew that the situation they had to deal with. So I think I was probably less critical of that than anything else.
Hmm.
I wish they, I wish they would have expounded more on it than the little cut scene of, oh yeah, she trained to be a Jedi, but then she got the impression that her son was something, and so she gave up her lifesaver for forever, and now it's yours. I wish they would have expanded on that a little bit more, but they didn't.
You're only limited by the footage you had of her, so I mean that's.
Yeah, but they said that they weren't going to use a body double, but then they went back in time and they used a body double. Apparently, they made digital clothes of her, and at the very end, like that was a digital representation. So I get paying respect to somebody, but if you're like, this is all we have to work with, I'm like, well, there's not a lot there. It's just her like giving single word affirmation to whoever she happens to be sharing a cut screen with. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't a Tarkin thing where it was a total replacement.
yeah, like give something. Like use a little bit of that digitalness, like in the shadows, or because she was in shadow a lot of times, especially during her like I'm gonna lay down and take a nap thing, and then just like again with the Star Warsiness of it, if she's dead and everybody felt her be dead, then her body just laid there and stuff is going on all around with like Leia's dead body hanging out right there.
It seems so weird and out of place.
Yeah,
Ooh,
And then-
Finn is force sensitive now.
yeah,
By the
that's
way.
what he didn't. He was trying to tell her, and
I don't think
So
that's a
it's-
big deal. That was hinted towards in 7.
I don't know. I think it was kind of empty, like her role in the movie. If it was like she gave up, if the projection of Han Solo was Leia projecting Han Solo to, okay, then that was a really great story point for her character. But it was so ambiguous that she doesn't get the accolades for doing that. Or
That's
if
a really
she
good
gave up
point.
her life for him, then that is a huge, huge sacrifice for the entirety of the known galaxy because it turned a tide. She didn't get proper recognition for that because it was so ambiguous.
Yeah.
I can agree
And so
with
she
that.
just like laid down. And I'm like, well, okay, is she dead? And if she's dead, why? Well, she gave up herself for her son. Like, well, no, she didn't. Or did she? I don't know what she did. Okay, she was sleepy. And someone was like, she looked like she hella dead and just covered her up with a sheet. And then
That's
eventually
what
she
Yoda
just-
did.
well, the prophecy thing, whenever she's doing her master training with Luke, and Luke, I had to watch it the second time, was like, Leia will die, or Leia will give up her Jedi powers when her son dies or something. And so like when Ben gives his life for Rey's, which I thought was a touching moment, that's when she disappears. I'm like, well, is she dead now? Because if she's dead now, what was her comatose, nappy body been doing? And was it important enough for me to be emotionally connected to? I don't know. She's just laying there. And so I thought that it didn't really do her a service. I think not using a body double or whatever means did her a larger disservice to her character. Come at me, bro. That's all I'm saying.
No, I think it even better makes your point before about like the emotional investment, where there could have and probably should have been more, and there was opportunity for it. And I think telling a story isn't, it should be a lot easier to make those decisions, because everything should be following along with that story, and everything else kind of branching off of that. I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm serious. I have my heart on my sleeve, that movie. And if I'm writing this movie, and man, I don't want to do that. But like, especially coming off of Endgame, anybody who saw that movie, those writers were like, and then we want everybody in this theater to freaking weep. And they're like, yeah. And I imagine them sitting around the Star Wars table, and they're like, this is the culmination of all of these movies. We want you to laugh like you've never laughed in a Star Wars movie. We want the gut chuckle 40 years worth. I want the tears 40 years worth. I want all these things. And they had these times where I'm like, yes, make me cry. Like, make me care. Make me want to believe everything that you're saying. And they're like, shh, calm down, viewer. You're doing too much here.
Okay,
You're
Boomer.
expecting too much of us. Pump the brakes, Josh.
Okay, Boomer. You wanted your "I love you 3000" moment.
There were so many times in this movie to be emotionally connected to all of those characters, and they pulled back. Chewie died. I'm like, oh my God, she killed Chewie. That is so complex of a situation. The emotions are so gripping. She didn't mean to do it. She's so powerful. Now there's this. Now this is going to affect the turning tide of the rebellion because Chewie gave up his life for everybody. No, okay, never mind. 3PO. 3PO is going to be like the secret spy who is able to infiltrate this thing and say goodbye to his friends because he's giving up his space body for the. Oh, never mind. He immediately went back to exactly who he was, like 5 minutes before. Okay.
See,
Never mind.
you doing this right
Yep,
here is exactly
convincing.
what I was doing during Infinity War. Exactly the same. I feel your pain, man.
Yeah, but Infinity War was stretched out over 6 hours worth of movie. That emotional roller coaster took you over a year. All of this emotional roller coaster happened in 2 hours. Where it was like, no. Oh my God, that's girl. No. No. Oh, they kissed. Like, why? I don't know why they kissed. Is that supposed to make me emotionally tied because you guys kissed? It's just confusing. It's not even your first date. You guys barely know each other.
Yeah, that
You
was
kissed,
unnecessary.
and then you're dead. And you didn't speak the entire time. You didn't say anything.
Yeah. That moment felt like the moment in Man of Steel where Lois kisses Superman after like this massive amount of destruction and like the entire city is like razed, and clearly like Superman should be able to hear all these people like buried under rubble like crying out for help, and he's like kissing and making out with Lois. I'm like, this is neither the time nor the place for this. Like, that is not necessary, and it completely takes me out of this situation right now. Like, don't do that. And they did that. I'm like, ugh.
People really cared about it. Sure. Whatever. If that was a thank you, like I'm not like against the kiss, but I was like, again, I wasn't emotionally tied to it because it didn't mean anything. And then he just like, ugh, he fell over and died. I'm like, whoa, what? Why? Like, oh, did he just give all his life force for her life force? And if they got drained because they're a dyad to make the emperor like mega emperor, how much of this force life do they have left to actually give each other? Like, okay, whatever. Oh, they kissed. Yeah, of course they did. Like, well, whatever.
It was cool seeing the ghost in
For the half of a fleck of a second.
our stuff, and
What
the
ghost?
U-wing, and the ghost from
The
Star
ship,
Wars,
Star Wars Rebels,
Rebels.
where they're all lined up in the big space battle.
And the U-wing was there, and the Crow was there, and like
Oh, you meant the ship. Oh, okay.
everything was there. That like moment is probably going to be one of those nerdy pause and find all the ships from all the movies and all the games because they're all there. That was kind of cool.
I
Seeing
didn't
that
even
was-
find it that interesting.
But
It's a cool shot. I mean, it's a cool still, but
and Ahsoka Tano's voice
Oh yeah, there were a whole
and
bunch
Rey's
of
voice in the end. Although, if I had never seen The Last Airbender, I think the ending of this episode would have been cooler. I was like, oh, they just did The Last Airbender in Star Wars. But it was
I
still
thought
cool.
that they were gonna have the actual like Force ghosts,
Yeah.
but they had the voices, and I was like, oh, that was probably cheaper.
Yeah.
I
I
yeah,
wanted
what
to
I
see
thought.
them put their hand on her or something.
Yeah, they should have had more of that.
Like in Harry Potter.
Sure.
Because you had the exact same bad guy, beam, good guy, beam.
Oh,
Oh,
the
there's
fact that
ghosts
somebody
there.
did it before doesn't make it any less
No.
cool than this one, though.
I mean, there's some people theorizing that all the people in the crowd around Palpatine were like his projection of all the Sith that he had,
Mhm.
had died, like the Highlander stuff, where like all the people led to him.
But
Like,
Liz
why
That's what I
couldn't
heard.
there be a good side of that? Why couldn't Anakin have shown up? Why couldn't any of that stuff? Like,
I heard rumors that at one point they were supposed to, but I think it would have made for a more epic moment.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna do fan service, do it.
they already did the scene with voices. They've done that already, like in 7.
Yeah, with the voices with her touching the lightsaber.
Like, why wasn't Anakin among the Force ghosts that you saw? I don't know.
Why wasn't
No,
Ben?
no, he was. It wasn't. Wait, hold on.
I was standing at the end when it
No,
was
no, no, no,
just Leia and Luke.
Are you talking about the voices?
No, the physical ghost.
Oh, the actual Force Ghost. Yeah, I don't know. Because the voices, they had everybody.
I know.
Everybody.
Yeah, I thought at the end, having just Luke and having just Leia, I'm like, this
We
moment
saw
is not as strong as you think, especially on Tatooine, because Leia's not from Tatooine.
Right. She's on an invisible chunk of matter floating through the space.
Yeah, she was a sex slave on Tatooine. Like, way to bring that up, Ray. But like, there were so many more people that
Force
should have
Ghost
been.
Slave Leia.
I want to say should, but like, could have been in that spot. Like, where was Ben? Is Ben in like Jedi hell? Like, is he in the crowd with all the bad guys because he was some
No.
deathbed redemption? Like,
Because if Anakin had been redeemed with his last, killing the Emperor, then, Ben is redeemed for not, or bringing Rey back to life. He's
I
done
heard-
good.
I thought I heard that there was like another, not plane, but like another transcendence after the Force Ghost or something that they actually go on after that. I don't know.
It was cool seeing the Knights of Ren.
they were
that-
honestly my favorite part of the movie.
Although I wish they would have recreated the scene from episode 7 to give meaning to that scene in episode 7. But still, they were cool.
Did we ever get an explanation of what they were? Were they just other creations of Palpatine's, or?
There's Space Bros. I don't know.
Because
I mean, 'cause
there
we-
was the
Kylo was
Knights
going
of
to the
Ren
gym?
before Kylo Ren, and then I don't know if these are supposed to be the same Knights of Ren from before.
Yeah, but I mean, did we ever get an explanation of what Ren is? Like, what are the Knights of Ren?
Nope.
I don't know. Honestly,
I mean, it's not
there's
one of the
somebody
burning
who made
questions.
this movie that was like, no, we need to spend another 5 paragraphs of dialogue explaining who the Knights of Ren are without extending the movie at all, time-wise. Shove more information into this movie because people aren't overloaded enough.
No, that's a curiosity. I'm not as hung up on that one, but
But when all is said and done, Baby Yoda's got a daddy now, so it's all good.
Baby Yoda's going to be a Mandalorian.
Baby Yoda's going to be a Mandalorian, and he's not going to talk like Yoda.
I see him fit those ears inside the helmet.
Little cutouts.
Yeah.
Or if they have like a little hooked on phonics type tape thing in the Star Wars universe, or just like teaches him to speak in like these 10 cassette tapes. Like he gets to pick which one he wants, and he like accidentally puts in the Gungan one and just annoys the piss out of everybody in season 2. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So this movie, I have no desire to buy this movie. I asked Bob if he wanted to go watch it again so that we could kind of brush up on it before we did a spoiler cast on No Instructions, and he was like, "Meh, not really." I'm like, "Yep." I didn't dislike it like Solo. I thought Solo was dumb.
I still think Solo's worse.
Oh yeah, I think Solo was way worse than this movie, hands down. I think this movie was filler fluff that was not geared toward me. And I mean, I guess it was kind of entertaining for a little while.
It did give a good launching point for all the Disney Plus, movies that are coming out, like Lando and whatever her name was.
His daughter.
His daughter. Because I'm sure that's what everybody was screaming, in the movie theater opening night. It's his daughter. But
You know what's really bad is that this movie made me not look forward to Star Wars for a while. I mean, I'm interested to go back and watch like Rebels and stuff, but because I've never seen it.
season 7 of Clone Wars is coming out.
Yeah.
I don't care about Star Wars movies right
Speaking of Clone Wars, the connection, like the last scene in The Mandalorian, when he busts the Darksaber through the thing.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
What's up
that was
now?
cool.
yes.
The season
I think
8
that was
finale was so much better than the entirety of Rise of Skywalker.
Yep,
I agree with that.
I do too, and that's really sad.
So I immediately went to our building the Darksaber video and updated all a bunch of keywords.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully we'll get a
Smart.
little blip. But it made me want to go back to Rebels to go like teach me more about the Darksaber. I know it's in there. I didn't watch all of Rebels, but now I am. I'm like, there you go, Disney. You're kind of you're meshing properties, and you're making me want to go back and watch stuff. Like, good for you. That succeeded where they tried to do the same thing in Solo, and it failed. Like, oh, Darth Maul's alive? What? I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But the Darksaber kind of got me.
Although the lightsaber fight between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine is one of the coolest lightsaber battles in Star Wars. I'm just saying.
I'm about to get to that episode.
On a side note, is anybody else frustrated now that Obi-Wan didn't like Force heal Qui-Gon Jinn in Episode 1? Like, he hadn't gotten to that lesson yet.
Nope.
Yeah,
Fair.
he didn't have the texts.
That's right.
Ray
They're
had
in-
she had the study guides. No one else had
There
the
you go.
study guides.
And all of a sudden, Kylo Ren knows how to do it just after knowing it's possible.
Yep.
Is there a reason they didn't call him a holocron in this movie?
That's not how-
They didn't just because they didn't want it to be a new confusing word for the audience.
Okay.
But essentially it was a holocron.
because Dyad was not.
Jedi tracker.
stupid dyad.
That's a good point, Wes.
Oh, but back to the dyad thing. I have a theory, even though it's completely useless and doesn't mean anything because I don't care about this stuff anymore. But the dyad thing, and someone had mentioned like it only worked because they were generations that were connected. So there was no dyad when the Emperor and Vader were together. That didn't do anything, and no one cared, even though they were a super powerful family. And so if Shmi, Anakin's mom, started everything, and then there's Anakin, and then there's whatever, there's however many. Did the Emperor like virgin birth his son? Like Shmi did to Anakin? Is that why there's this parallel line and with these pairs of generations? Did he not like
No, I think Palpatine did the nasty with somebody.
I don't know. He just he popped him out a baby. And then he started throwing him in a tank. And then they started looking like Snoke.
That's a
I
horrible.
can't get over it. The Snoke suit thing still bothers me. And I don't understand. Is he making them? Is he drawing from them? Why are they all looking like that? They look very uncomfortable. That tank should be bigger. The whole thing is super stupid. He's a tall guy. You think you would make a bigger tank for that, especially if they're going to have more than one of him.
He's like squishing like Woody from Toy Story.
Oh, I'm sorry. The opening crawl. I read the first line of the
hated
opening crawl, and I went, "Oh God, what is happening?"
I hated opening crawl.
Like, there's exclamation points and stuff in here. The Emperor is using a radio. Like, what? What?
Hearing voices through the galaxy.
Emperor Palpatine's back. We're like, well, okay.
The fact they started out with that in the opening crawl, I thought was horrible.
that scene, he was scary looking. I'm like, ooh, he was scary. That would have been cool to like surprise me with and scare me with and make me emotionally tied. But in the crawl, you're using exclamation points and told me he was already around. I'm like, well, okay.
Right. I
Never
like him
mind.
connected to the big machine. That was cool. I like that. Like from a design point of view, I thought it was sweet.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Portal.
Yes.
Did you get
Right?
that too?
Gladys.
Yeah, it was totally Gladys.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that.
Instantly, I'm like, oh, I like that. That's cool. That new droid
Where's
didn't
the
do
potato?
much.
No, that
Theo
new
did-
droid did nothing.
I like how it talked in a human voice, but that was pretty much it. It's worthless.
No, he totally did. He had the map. And again, it was one of those like, oh man, she had to go get the little triangle dealy, which that whole scene. She got a stupid knife, had to stand in the exact stupid spot that it was measured up against broken stuff.
Breaking up.
And then you had to pull out the little thing to point to the little spot. Like, how did the guy who killed Ray's parents know exactly that little window was right there and that far away? That thing would have been so off. And how would you be able to plot that? That was such a terrible, terrible way to find what you needed to find. And then she finds it, whatever. Magically, Kylo Ren shows up. I'm like, did Kylo Ren have another stupid broken knife thing? How did he know where she was? They didn't force touch. How did he get there? Did he use the little skiff thing too? I'm like, this is dumb. and then it broke, and they're like, oh, the robot had the map in him the whole time, so all that really wasn't necessary in the first place. Like, ugh.
And I thought the knife was going to be like a bigger plot point because what our knives used to do, kill.
No, it was the One-Eyed Willy type thing. One-Eyed Willie's thing used gigantic rocks that don't move, not the wreckage of a battleship thing that is slowly disintegrating into the water. Like, I wanted so much to be tied to this movie. I threw my heartstrings at that screen so many times, and they're like, nah, just put them back. We don't need those right now. Everything's going to be fine. Like, okay. Sorry. Star Wars.
Okay, so let's go ahead and turn that corner. What are you guys geeking out about?
No. Star Wars stuff.
So for people that don't know, I put together a little treasure hunt on my Instagram page. It started on my Instagram page, and I sent people all over the interwebs following clues to figure out the answer to the hunt. And apparently, I made the first clue way too hard. So a bunch of people didn't. I don't know if the first clue like turned them off from doing it, but there were actually a lot of people that figured out all the clues, that figured out the answer, and then had fun doing it, which was kind of the point. And the greater point to all this is that Workbench Con contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to do a giveaway for a ticket to Workbench Con, which are like $400. So it's no small chunk of change. And so I didn't want to do an atypical like this post, tag 3 friends, share for an extra entry kind of thing like you almost always see on Instagram. And so that's why I put this puzzle journey together to test run what I'm going to do for the ticket for Workbench Con. Because I want to make it more of an interactive experience for the people that actually want to win the ticket besides just tagging 3 friends and reposting in their stories and whatnot. So it was a learning experience. I had fun putting it together. A couple of people had fun doing it. I've gotten some feedback, not a lot of feedback, but enough feedback that I know what worked. I know what didn't. I know what to do different next time, and hopefully next time it'll be better. Have more people out the gate, at least get the first clue.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I cheat. No, I didn't cheat finish. I accidentally finished.
Yeah, you did.
That was fun. I'm like, I think I just figured this out on the very first thing, and I don't think I was supposed to, but I'm confused, so I'm going to keep going. And then I got to the very end. I'm like, oh, I did. I figured it out. Like the very first thing I figured out.
Yeah.
That was fun. You did a really great job, by the way. The point of doing that, like going to all the different social media pages, discovering things, I think was an amazing SEO booster. And I think the whole thing was pretty excellent.
Yeah, it's funny going in and look at my analytics for that video because it's like, boo, 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 and then all of a sudden, whoop, right here. It was like, oh, unintended consequence of. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. That and people know about Maker's Playground because not a lot of people even knew about Maker's Playground, that it was a thing. And now there's a lot more people that know about that know about my Facebook page, that know about all this other kind of stuff. And so the side point of all of it was fulfilled to get exposure to all this other stuff that honestly nobody's even looked at since its creation. So it worked. And I'm going to do it again. So it should be fun.
Well, good job.
Thanks.
Are you guys ready for the geeking out?
Yes.
Check this out. So Bob went to Galaxy's Edge down at Disney, and I was really jealous. And I'm like, well, you're going to get me a lightsaber while you're down there. So I have Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber is my favorite one. And it's beautiful, and it's awesome. You hear that? That was super cool. So I have a lightsaber, and I got the hilt, and now I'm designing my own lightsaber, and all my kids and my wife want one. So it's not a resolution, but a goal I have now set for 2020 is that our 2020 Christmas card will have all of us with our lightsabers, our own individual.
Individual?
Lightsabers.
That's cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
I'm geeking out over the Oculus, obviously, and then working on some art within there. It's a lot of fun. So I'll continue with that. Hopefully, work out how to share it easily so I can share progress on other platforms besides Facebook, which is what they want me to share it on, which is
So-
somewhat limited. Go ahead.
You sharing this stuff out for people that don't have Oculus like myself, is there any way to experience the stuff that you share out, or do you have to have an Oculus in order to experience what all the stuff that you're making inside VR?
There's some functionality or some like glimpses of it you can glean without having Oculus, because like they have one of the export options you can do like a 3D photo like Facebook supports, where you do the scroll vertically and it does like the perspective shift on like a picture. You see some people doing that. Some phones have that capability, so they'll take like you can actually do export in the program and it'll pull up this little window, and it's sort of like a camera screen within the app within my visor, and I kind of hold it in a position and move it in a certain way while hitting record, and it'll sort of pull that perspective, and you can kind of play with it a little bit in Facebook. You can also do a 360 photo, I believe, so you can sort of do like the panorama kind of 360 stuff. There's not like a super great way to share the actual file that I've found. Like it's not as social media integrated as I thought it would be or hoped it would be. And it sounds like there used to be some of this content, but then Facebook got rid of it for some reason. I'm not sure where they're going with some of that, but I'm still learning. I'm not really 100% sure. But
Does Facebook own Oculus? Is that why?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
like there's a button in there, like you have all the save, you have export, all these different things, and there's a special share button. You click it and it's like share to your Facebook account. So I had to do like an authentication thing for my account, and it either lets me share to my personal page or share to a group, and it was that kind of 3D photo thing where you scroll up and down. It didn't let me share to a page like my Geeksmithing page like I would want it to share to. So it's a little bit limited in the functionality. So I think there's a way you can export it and then use other social media to upload it, but I'm still figuring out how to best take advantage of that. Ideally, with the art that I'm creating, I want to be able to 3D print some of it. So then it's like another avenue of usage. We'll see.
This week I'm geeking out about a gift, but it isn't a gift that I got for Christmas. It's a gift that my daughter got. She got a big electric keyboard piano for Christmas, and the whole family's been kind of enjoying it, learning how to play, and having fun trying to find music for all the different songs, geeky songs, to kind of play. And it's really cool seeing my daughter get really good playing, and my son getting into it too. So, everything from Super Mario theme to Gravity Falls to last night I was playing the theme song from Top Gun, which I really like.
Mm.
That's awesome.
Still not really learning how to play properly, but it's kind of fun being able to hit the notes and start creating music and just starting from there. So that's mine. All right, and we'd love to hear from all of you. Maybe you can let us know what some of your favorite gifts were for the holidays, or what you got your kids and that they seem to enjoy. And you can let us know that on our website, makinggeeks.com, on the contact page. You could leave that comment right there, or any other questions or comments you have for the show. And on the homepage of the site, you can listen to all of our past episodes right there, makinggeeks.com.
And aside from this fantastic and hopefully sometimes infuriating, enlightening, and entertaining podcast that you're listening to, we all do our own individual stuff that you can go check out. Sean can be found at Geek Builders. Wes can be found at Geeksmithing. Josh can be found at two different places because he's that special. Over at Josh_MakeStuff or his Stuff with Bob, but I like to make stuff, and I can be found at Once Upon a Workbench.
And we'd like to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for keeping the wheels on the bus, the lights on in the shop, and our podcast going with their financial contributions, including our top patron, C3D Prop Shop. Thank you so much.
Who, by the way, is very good at puzzles and solved all of them way faster than than I thought anybody was going to. So, congrats, Clint. That was fantastic.
And we'd like to hear from you. What do you think about Rise of Skywalker? Is there something that we're missing? Should we watch it yet another time? Tell us what you think. You can get a hold of us like all the different places, like Donovan said. If you want to come interact with us live, we record this every Thursday at around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time here in the States. And we also project that onto our YouTube channel or on check out Making Geeks, and you can participate in the live chat. And thank you for everybody who is there in the live chat right now. And from all of us to all of you, we hope you have a fantastic week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.